live on YouTube. Here we go. The cacophony, maybe my big word of the day, of guests continues. We have a giant ballot, and I'm trying to get everybody in here that's on it. So today I have Tyler Gibbons. He is running for mayor of Knox County, and we're going to talk about what and why and those kind of things here in a little bit. But first, I'm going to go through my standard spiels. We're almost agreement at gmail.com. Get us on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. Go to our website. That's where the good stuff's at, almostinagreement.com. While you're there, I have my job description sheet, which I'm still working to fill out. But then the big one, the important one, is my voter guide 22. It's going to give you a list of everybody, what they're running for, links to their website, links to their interview with me, as well as links to KGIS and Knox County Election Commission. Get on the KGIS to find out what district you're in, what your polling location is, stuff like that, as well as Knox County Election Commission. Double check your registration for whether you're registered to vote or not, as well as they're redrawing a few precincts this week, so some people might change exactly where you're voting or which precinct you're voting in. But look it up, figure it out, make sure you're properly registered and you know where you're going on election day and stuff like that, as well as, you know, if you want to early vote and where those things are there too. This thing just blanked out. Podcast provider, go to your favorite podcast provider, follow us there. That's it. All right, anyway, Tyler Gibbons, everybody.
Hey, hello.
Oh man, it's been a day and a half as usual. And so I don't know, tell me about all right, so what I always like to start with, even if I've had you on the show before, which I haven't had you, but give me the I don't know, what are you, 25, 30 years old?
Yeah, thanks. I'm 38. Thank you.
Okay. So give me the last 20 years of Tyler and what got him to run for mayor of Knox County.
Sure, man. Sure. So I did the thing you're supposed to do. I went to college. I got a STEM degree. I started my professional career, and I have 15 years experience in energy engineering. So I've worked in state, local, federal buildings all over the country, helping them reduce their energy consumption, lower their utility bills. That's kind of been my professional career to date.
Oh, my house needs you so bad.
Yeah. Well, Knox County Schools needs me too, and a bunch of other places. Actually, I work in schools around the state right now in my current job. So,
gotcha. And so, I mean, what made the jump? Like,
yeah.
Why are we running? Like, I mean, I guess the first question is, have you been active politically for a while? Is this like, are you do you do stuff politically, but this is the first time you're running? What's that?
Yeah,
history?
this is the first time I'm running. So I guess you know, I've always tried to pay attention to local politics, vote in local elections, stuff like that. I'm sure I missed some here or there because, like you say, there's so many and they're so easy to miss. But you know, I started getting involved, paying attention to local government, I would say, around the beginning of the pandemic, right? And
like a lot of
people did. And, you know, George Floyd happened around that time. And that got me looking at, you know, law enforcement accountability and looking at, I started doing open records requests and kind of looking into the history of our police department, sheriff's department, because I wanted to know what was going on there. And so that work kind of led me to bumping shoulders with other activist folks. And then I got laid off in January of 2021. And I spent my time between jobs volunteering with a coalition that was doing some education on eviction defense. We put a flyer together. We're taking it around to folks that were on the docket for eviction court upcoming, let them know the forms they had to file to apply for the eviction moratorium so they could stay in their homes, right? So I worked with that group for a while, and then from working with those folks, I started working with some people in the homeless community. So I didn't work through VMC and CARM and those places. I kind of went to the camps that were a little further out, that either the folks that didn't want to stay in those places, or maybe they didn't feel welcome there for whatever reason, they chose not to stay at the shelters.
Right.
So I started taking food and water to those people and just kind of hanging out with them, learning their stories, doing little things I could to help them out, help them relocate when police would come and stuff like that. So in both of those, in both of those kind of roles and both of those kind of volunteers things I was involved in, I came into contact with a lot of the local agencies, KCDC, CAC, the other county-city partnerships that manage a lot of our services for folks. And what I found was that there were a lot of people working really hard and doing their best, but they're understaffed, underfunded, and under-resourced. So we have these county agencies that are supposed to take care of these things for us, and we are not making them a priority in our budget.
Okay. Because, I mean, you just sent me some budget stuff, which I know we're going to go into some deeper detail on, but that's the origin story there, is that says I'm going to go beyond, you know, general helping out activism into actually running for office. What was that decision?
Yeah. So I kind of I spoke at city council a bunch of times and at a few you know, city county events, and I've watched a few county commissions and stuff like that. And I wanted to be more involved, right? And I had been involved in these activist communities, and I had been getting to know folks. And so, you know, towards the end of last summer, I started asking around. I was like, who's running for mayor? Like, do we have somebody? Is the Democratic Party looking at somebody? Is there a progressive candidate? Does anybody have in the local movement? Who's running for county mayor, right? You know, it's going to be a hard race to win, but somebody ought to run. And it didn't seem like there were any names coming up. So actually, I called Matt Shears in December. Actually, I think I sent him an email like first week of December or so, and I was like, "Hey, I've been talking to some folks. I think I might have met him once or twice at various events or whatever, So I sent him an email, and I was like, "Do you have any candidates lined up?" And he said, "We got 2 or 3 folks we're talking to. We're not really sure." So December 20th, I hadn't heard that he had anybody confirmed. That's when petitions were out. I picked one up. So picked one up, got my signatures, and turned it in.
Gotcha.
Here I am.
I mean, so but why mayor? Why not a commission or whatever
great question.
else?
Yeah, great question. So the reason I'm running for county mayor is because county mayor specifically has the power to change the things that I think are problematic in Knoxville, right? So, in particular, the county mayor and the city mayor both sit on the boards of KCDC and CAC and various other organizations. They decide who gets to be appointed to those boards that control what we're doing with these budgets, right? They are very much involved with the agencies that I interacted with, and they also, the city and county mayor both are heavily involved. They decide the budget, basically, is how our system works.
Right.
So
everybody submits what they want to him, and then his office pairs and does what they want to it, and then that goes to commission, and commission probably says yes.
You nailed it. So the mayor is the central negotiator in that process, right? And so we'll talk a little bit more about budget stuff later, but I think that really we have these existing programs. We have the I'll go ahead and talk about a couple other things to me too. So another issue for me is rising rents, right? And everybody wants to talk about housing affordability and stuff like that. Rents are up 30% last year in Knoxville. That means people move into the county, right? If you get priced out of the city, you move to the county. You get priced out of county, you move further out. That's extra strain on our infrastructure. It's more commuters. The prices going up in the city affect everybody all around. And we have development monies already. We have the pilot program. And other things that the TDC does, TIF funding, other things that we're using to help build the baseball stadium, that we've used to help private entities build their sidewalks and do other development stuff that they've wanted to do for their property. We've been using these programs to help developers build luxury and amenity type stuff, and that's great, but we should be using that money as an incentive for the developers to give benefits back to the community, right? The baseball stadium is a great example. So there was a community benefits agreement that folks were pushing for. There was negotiations with unions that fell through, and nobody could ever get Boyd Sports to sign anything that was legally binding. If you don't do this, then X penalty applies or whatever.
Right.
And again, we have the carrots and sticks. We have the tools where we can say, okay, you want to build a luxury condo, or you want to build an 80-unit apartment complex, right? And you want a new sidewalk, or you want a pilot program tax break. Well, we can say, well, you can't build an 80-unit building. You need to build a 100-unit building, and some of them need to be smaller square footage, more affordable. We can use the tools, use the incentives to get our developers to develop in a way that helps everyone in the community and is sustainable. So, and that is why, again, I come back to running for the mayor's office. Like, the mayor is in charge of those kind of things.
Right. Okay. I mean, I follow. I get, and again, I think, especially, and I think it's a little bit of a misnomer, but I think generally speaking, 9 out of 10 people on the street, if you go stop them and be like, what do you like or not like about Knox County? Whose fault is it? They're going to say the mayor.
Right.
Doesn't matter what it is.
Right.
Because that's one of the things I get on the Knox Stems page all the time, because they blame everything on Mayor Jacobs. And it's like, one, I understand he's a Republican. He's not anyway.
He's outspoken too.
But it's like I think we should hold an account when the mayor's speaking out of turn. When he talks about schools, we should be like, hey, no, all you get to do is play budget games. If it's not about school budgets, then shut up. That's not your job. And I think that's one of the things that they both compound upon each other. And that's what I get on the Knox Stems page about, because they're like, Mayor Jacobs is going to defund your schools. It's like, that's even a budget thing, and you're still not quite right.
Right. Well, the mayor does have some power over school budgets.
Some, but the state has standards that have to be met regardless of what the mayor may want. And the school board has the minimums that they're going to do. And hell, I mean, anybody that's smart enough to understand how schools are funded anyway probably needs to be at NASA or something like that, because this is like, I just started to get a grasp of the old formula, and now we're shifting over to the new school funding formula, which I haven't begun to try to digest. So, and so you sent me some stuff and about the mayor's budget and some of his office expenditures, which is becoming, at least as far as the Democrats I've talked to, kind of the top poke, for lack of a better word, is that, especially because he likes to call himself a libertarian. I call myself a libertarian. Me and him are not the same.
I think a lot of folks call themselves libertarian. It allows a lot of room for interpretation.
It does indeed, but I think that I mean, anybody who's actually libertarian doesn't even come close to the stadium project.
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
does, and absolutely doesn't advocate for it.
No, yeah.
Might be okay, a little bit pragmatist about it. Okay, this is going to happen.
Sure.
I'm going to get my name on it or whatever. But you're not going to be an advocate for if you're actually a libertarian. But he's not a libertarian anyway, because that's my argument, and I'm sticking to it. But one of the complaints about his office specifically has been he's expanded his staff as an office. And again, if you're going to tout yourself as either a fiscally conservative Republican and or libertarian, wasted spending, for lack of a better word, is something you should be against. And so I've seen a lot of this conversation about it. You brought some paperwork with some specific numbers, I'm assuming from some of your public information requests that you
Actually,
like to
this is
do.
all just this is just on the budget page, man. If you dig in deep enough, you can pull these numbers out of it. So I spent some time looking into it, and we can come back to the schools budget if you wanted to, because I wanted to talk a little bit about that too. But yeah, for the I gave you several sheets here, and the one that really stands out, if you look at the percentage increase, and that's relevant to what we're talking about, when Jacobs came into office, he increased the budget of the mayor's office like 55% year over year, and it's had like small increases since then. Now, to me, that to me shows that is a significant budget increase. Maybe it shouldn't have been so much, but I don't think that our county mayor's office is just like fiscally irresponsible to have who it has. Again, there may be a couple positions in there that are, maybe you don't need this guy, maybe this one guy gets paid too much or whatever. But I don't think that's where our huge budgetary issues are. I mean, our county mayor's budget is what, like I had it on here,
1.6 ish.
Yeah, 1.6 now. Yeah, so I mean that's a significant portion of the general fund. General fund's about $200 million, so that's like a little bit less than 1% of general fund. I think our county commission is about $500,000 for their annual budget. So we got what is that, 1% admin costs in the government? That doesn't sound so bad. So that's not where we're spending
all our money.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, when it gets down to the what, just under $1 billion budget that we do as a county,
right?
We're looking at 2 or 3 million. It's not that. It's not it's certainly not the end of the world for.
You probably need a couple competent
thing.
Attorneys in your mayor's office.
Right.
So.
I mean, that's another. I mean, you brought it up, and I don't mean to go down this rabbit hole, but this is something interesting to me, because when we first got into doing the show, when I first started really paying attention to Knoxville and Knox County politics, was when we had the referendum for the removing the law director's office from being an elected position. And as a general statement, I'm like, I want to elect as many people as possible.
I agree with that. Yeah.
But what we're watching right now between the sheriff's office and the school board and the law director's office
shows the issue there.
It's kind of highlighting what the problem is, and almost validates the argument to say maybe we shouldn't have this as an elected office. Maybe it should be appointed by each body instead of just the mayor's office as well.
Right.
And so it's an interesting little tidbit, because all the coverage I've seen on it so far is sheriff's wasting money, school board's trying to waste money, and it's like, well, maybe. I'm not saying that is or isn't, but nobody's having the question, is like, well, is it because the law director's office is failing? Or is it because the law director's office is doing everything they can, and the sheriff and or the school board doesn't accept the reality? And nobody's talking about it that way, so I don't know the answer to that. And I think that's one of the things that's really frustrating to me.
You posed that like a question, but I'm not going to attempt to answer it either.
It's not. It's just a statement of general confusion. Which is apparently where I stay most of the time.
Yeah. Well, so on the budget stuff, really, what I wanted to bring up wasn't so much the mayor's office, but the public health and welfare was something that really jumped out to me when I started looking at it. So if you look,
one's on the revenue table?
If you look at the one that's either in millions, it's like the green tables in the background you got there. Yeah, you can look at either the one in millions.
Sorry, you two people, I don't have this hooked up so you can see it.
Yeah, I apologize. I'll read it out briefly. So in fiscal year 17-18, our public health and welfare budget was $22.7 million approximately. And then in fiscal year 21-22, it was $22.7 million. Like our budget for public health and welfare actually went down slightly, about $1 million at the beginning of the pandemic, and then just came back up to where it was in the beginning. And that's a little confusing to me. Like, if public health and welfare is supposed to be our county health agencies and stuff that you would think would be ramping up to do this testing and vaccine stuff or whatever, there's obviously activity going on. That was confusing to me that we haven't invested more in those departments.
Right. And again, I don't know if you know the answer to this, and I don't necessarily expect you to, but what is confusing to me when I look at stuff like this is how much federal dollars is coming in. Is that part of this conversation? Are there federal dollars that are coming in, taken care of, or being spent on some of this public health and wellness that we don't necessarily see on the income side or the outgoing side because it's all just a straight line from the Fed to whoever's actually doing it.
Right. There is a lot like that. And that plays into like the school budgets we were talking about earlier. I feel like I saw a diagram a while back that said it was like a third federal, a third state, and a third local, but I couldn't find that again. What I was able to find was the state and the state BEP contribution and the local option sales tax and local property tax. I didn't send this one to you, but the state and local contribute about equal amounts to our school fund.
Yeah.
And then the federal money was kind of a black hole. It wasn't even.
Oh yeah, that's where it gets real weird because it's all grant stuff. It's not automatic. It's grants that we apply for different programs, different things, and 99 out of 100 of them are straight lines into whatever the program is. And so it's one of those. Well, we get to count it as part of the budget, but we don't get to really choose how to spend it because we have to spend it on the thing they told us we could.
Yeah, I do think, so now I'm thinking back when I put this together, the Mayor's Office, Public Safety, and Public Health and Welfare, those are all general fund items, though. So those are out of, I believe that's, again, I don't have the budget in front of me, you know how confusing it is, but I believe that public health and welfare and that public safety, those were both under the 180 million, $200 million general fund number. And the public safety number was also really hard to suss out exactly what into that. I know that's mostly the sheriff's department, but I couldn't figure out line by line in the budget like what things were included in public safety.
Who accounts to where. Yeah, that's one of the conversations I'd like to have, but I don't know if I have the 12-hour podcast time to do.
Right. Well,
to get Mr. Caldwell in here.
I sent you this chart. I'll hold it in front of the camera. This eye chart here, which actually shows where the money comes from and where it goes in one little table, but it still doesn't make any sense to me. It's an eye chart and it's complicated, and I feel like I'd have to look at it for 10 hours to understand.
Well, again, because I mean, one of the things that's important to look at with this one, like you're on the green and white one that we've been talking about, is the that $893 million total budget. That's $693 million school budget, and that's the $200 that's left over, or $200 million that's left over.
That's right.
And so
the rest of it is schools. Yeah.
Right. Public safety, public health and welfare, and the mayor's office combined for 125-ish.
Yeah,
120 million of the $200 million budget.
Again, it makes me less concerned about a $500,000 county commission budget.
Right. So where's the other 700? Where's the other 75 million going?
Oh gosh, I had to pull the actual budget up here. Yeah, I didn't put. This was a highlights. I didn't put every single line.
Don't talk money to me. So. I get really detailed.
Yeah. Well, if you want to pull the budget, like you said, let's do a 10-hour podcast. Let's get the budget up.
We'll get Caldwell in here.
Yeah. Let's do it. I'm down.
I mean, it's. Again, I think part of it's maddening to the general public. It's not just. I mean, it's. I'm anomalous to even pretend like I'm going to try to look at it, where the reality is most people won't.
Right.
And won't even pretend like they're going to try to understand it because it's massive.
Yeah.
It's massive. It's big. And because again, like I always ask the question, what is that budget supposed to do? Like, what do we really as a populace feel like that budget is supposed to be doing? And it's like, well, roads and schools and stuff. And it's like, okay, but is that it? Because there's a lot of other stuff that it is doing that it may be doing a poor job of because it doesn't have the funding to do it and stuff like that. And I don't hear those conversations, or it's supposed to be doing this and it's doing crappy.
Yeah.
But there's a big gap between those two, and I'm and it seems like you are trying to you are focusing on part of that gap, and I think that's an important conversation to have.
Right. Thank you.
And so again, because I don't know. Like I said, I'm a little more libertarian. I think I'm gonna figure it out. But I'm not running for office, and that's why I'm not running for office. But I vote according to my values, and I think it's important that we as a community can respect the establishment. We can respect the idea that okay, I don't necessarily personally agree that this is something that my tax dollars should go to, but the community I live in does. So let's have a conversation about how to, please me as a constituent, but the constituency at large. Is this something that is important to us?
I think you're touching on a really important question there, which is, does the elected leadership represent the people, right? I mean, we have a ton of people in Knox County that don't vote in local elections and don't vote in federal elections either, right? When you've got 60 to 70% of the vote of the voting population of the county that doesn't even turn up to vote in a mayoral election,
right?
What that says to me is that no one is running who is offering me anything useful, who is saying the political programs that I'm putting forward are relevant and interesting enough to my life to jump the hurdles to go vote.
See, I'd push back a little bit, and they're not even paying them. They're all the same anyway. So why am I bothering giving them half a second? They come knock on my door. Yeah, go away. I don't want to hear it. I think
that hasn't been my experience canvassing, man. That hasn't been my experience
good.
At all.
That makes me happy. I would love to see increased voter turnout because again, I'm on the field of apathy is a vote.
Yeah.
as much as
that's kind of what I'm saying,
Yeah.
right? It's like you're voting for none of these guys, none of the people in front of me. That's who we end up voting for.
Right. I don't care. You can't make me care enough to get to for me to walk a quarter mile down the road and do it in 20 minutes.
And I think a big problem with that is the messaging, right? If you say we're going to bring new jobs to the county, or we're going to attract new talent to the county, what does that say to the person working 2 jobs and driving an Uber and they're getting evicted?
Right.
You know,
because that's another one of those questions I asked. It's like, I understand growth is automatic. We can't stop growth, and especially with some of the things that we have that are nice that people like and people are attracted to. But are we having a conversation about how much growth we want or can handle? And what do we need to do to actually, like, I know we're talking about what we need to do to handle the growth, but like, how much do we actually want? Right. Like, how much are we, like, there's always this constant, like, hey, we're make this more attractive to businesses coming in. It's like, okay, that's cool, but we have people here that don't work.
Right.
And you're trying to bring these businesses in to bring more people in. And what about here? What about, like, this is we elected you to do this. Let's, it's the same thing. I don't mean to go too broad on this, but it's the same thing with the Ukraine conversation right now. It's like, yes, that's a problem. No, I'm not okay with that. I don't know that our dollars need to go over there.
Yeah, that is a particularly tough one. And I was actually in Market Square with some of the Ukrainians who were marching this past weekend, and I asked a few of them, I was like, what do you think we can do? And they're like, this is global politics, it's political intrigue. It's like, you can't do anything. Support refugees, donate money to humanitarian funds. That's all you can do.
Right. And so, but again, I think that same mindset, which is so easy for people to put their opinion on a national, international conversation, they don't do the same here. They don't think about Knox County and portions of Knox County the way the way they think about at least U.S. politics as a whole. They pay attention to that one. They don't pay attention to this one. Yeah, because Nancy Pelosi somehow matters more than you do.
She's on the news more. Yeah,
right. But she matters more than you in this race does, and that is unholy backwards to me, and we need to fix that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that local politics is really where we can make a difference. I mean, for instance, in the Democratic primary for county mayor last time, like less than 10,000 people voted, and like that happens in a lot of our primaries. And this was something we mentioned before we started. I was talking about how I think it was like 1990, they changed some stuff in the county charter, and I think some of the stuff in the city charter changed around the time, and they like changed the way the elections were synchronized. When they were scheduled, and I think it's odd that we have national primaries the same time as our local generals, and then the national generals are after that. I
do think until I started doing this, I didn't realize that our general was in August.
Yeah, people don't know there's a primary coming up.
Right. Well, and what I found that's particularly problematic about this primary coming up in May that scares the crap out of me is that if I want to vote for you and pull the Democratic primary so I can vote for you on to run against Mayor Jacobs, I don't get to vote for sheriff. Yeah. Like, that's messed up.
It is.
It's to me, there's a simple fix. Say if there's only 2 and they're on the same party, it goes to the general automatically. Something that the idea that I care about who's running against Jacobs.
That does explain why I've seen all those the Jimmy Jones signs and the Spangler signs, because the primary election is their election.
Right, they're elected in May.
Technically, I think you're not supposed to put those signs out until March 13th, but I don't know if our sheriffs know that.
Well, I'm enjoying them both running on the re-elect banner.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. I think one of them put a sticker on there that was like new or something. I saw something like that.
Well, I know that it looks, at least the Spangler ones look like they're the old ones with the sticker added that says re-elect.
I think that's what I've seen. Yeah.
And so it's I don't know, it's crazy. So let's go back to you and what.
Yeah, sure.
All right, so it seems like homelessness and some of the other. We're bracketed as.
We're talking about sheriffs. Let's talk about law enforcement accountability.
Okay.
And let's talk about wasted money there too. So the wrongful death suit of Jonathan Binkley was settled last year for $750,000. So our sheriff's department paid out $750,000 in taxpayer money because they hogtied a guy and he died. He stopped breathing on the ground while a bunch of sheriffs stood around him. Our sheriff's department has an accountability issue. Just recently, David Hayes was arrested. There's no body camera footage. Like, we should be having always-on body cameras.
Was it Bailey? Was like the day before, 2 days before, too?
That's right.
That one, another death that just doesn't really quite add up.
Right. It's just something questionable about it. It was transferred between police custody and county custody.
I got arrested once, and I probably spent like 6 hours in the paddy wagon. They just leave you in there for a while.
Yeah, me too.
It's just like, I don't know how long it is. I was hammered. I deserve to get arrested. Don't get me wrong. I'm not mad at the sheriff for it. I should have been arrested. I was being an idiot. But I did
Yeah.
sit in the paddy wagon for like 6 hours. I think. I don't know. I was hammered. I can't
But
remember.
our county is just kind of behind modern standards on police accountability. Like our city has rolled out body cameras, and our sheriff's department started rolling out body cameras, but they're not required on all officers. They're not required to be always on. I think we should have an ordinance that says our sheriff's department has to wear their body cameras when they're doing sheriff's duties.
Okay, so technical question here. Can you?
Now, I don't think that's something the mayor's office can do unilaterally. By county ordinance, I think it's possible. Like, obviously, I'm not an attorney, right? And maybe somebody could read something in the charter that tells me I'm wrong or some relevant case law. But Davidson County has their community oversight board, and they have a body camera requirement, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't know why we can't just emulate what they've done.
Right. Because, again, it's one of those weird isms
Yeah.
to me where the sheriff sits in the whole grand scheme of the hierarchy of governance and stuff like that. Because, like, I always make, like, I have two running jokes about how weird the system is that the schools, it is Tennessee State Schools, Knoxville Division, and the sheriff's office is the same thing. It's Tennessee State Police Force, Knox County Division. That's how the sheriff's office works. They don't directly. It's just a weird lineup. And I've asked Spangler about it, and I'm trying. Like, I still don't quite understand it. Where these ordinances come in, and whether the sheriff has an obligation to the county government, because technically the sheriff's only real obligation is to state law. And that's a weird ism that I don't know the answer to.
Yeah, it just strikes me as strange that a legislative body wouldn't be able to write an ordinance that controls law enforcement officers. I just can't see how that's not at all possible. We do hear that a lot in the county commission and city council. They'll ask the lawyer or the law director there, can we do this or that? And the law director always says, oh, it's really hard. That's not what I want to hear from my law director.
Right.
I want to hear the case law that says why I can't do it.
Well, and it's also a weird spot because he's representing both parties.
Right.
And it's like, well, it's really complicated because I'd have to defend myself against myself in this case. If there
in this
was
particular
to
case,
come
yeah.
up.
The other cases, I've heard them, use that excuse before too, where it's like, oh, what you're proposing, I'm not sure we can do that. And I'm like, to me, that's not what a law director is supposed to say. A law director is supposed to say, I'll give you an answer on that at X day, and we'll figure out what the laws are.
I might need some time to figure it out,
right,
but
that's
I can give
yeah.
you an answer. Right.
Yeah, I mean, like so in my career, I'm an expert in my field, right, mechanical engineering, HVAC, and controls and stuff like that. And if I'm in a meeting and somebody calls upon me to say, oh, we want to install this new product in this new building, I can't just go, oh, that's really hard, we can't do it. Like, that's not an acceptable answer in a business meeting. As a expert in a business meeting, I can say, I'll have to give you a cost analysis, give me a week. I can say that, but I can't just go, oh, that's really hard, and then get the group to do something else. That's
right, and especially with the way that generally it works is that they have a work meeting, which he's there as well, and topics come up, and it's like, well, you have a week before the actual meeting when we talk about this to get a direct answer out, and I think that would be appropriate for the job.
Sure. Now, maybe I'm asking too much. Maybe they're understaffed too. I don't know as much about their offices. I know about the CAC and other community agencies.
Right.
So.
I know the more I try to figure it out, the more confused I get. I know that much.
Fair enough. Well, when you figure it out, let me know.
Oh, okay. Well, it's like I can't. I mean, Buck's been on one of that. I've been calling his office, trying to get an interview with him since we started doing this again. Because we started in this during the election cycle when that referendum was up. And I was trying to understand what the referendum meant and what it would do and all this kind of stuff. And I figured, well, the person it affects the most might have some good answers on it. And, and so no response out of that office. And it's like, I'm a constituent. Forget the show.
Yeah.
I'm a constituent. I at least deserve a reply email that says, hey, that's not within the purview of something. We should do something. Again, same answer.
Yeah.
Give me something.
Right.
You can't just be like, meh, and leave it alone.
Yeah, actually, speaking of open records requests and stuff like that earlier, I filed several open records requests to the county on behalf of someone I met at a meeting. They wanted to know some information about the school resource officers. They wanted to know how much their school resource officer was paid.
Nothing.
I couldn't find out. I messaged every department in the county, and nobody sent a reply. And maybe I sent it to the wrong department. Maybe I should have sent it to the Board of Education, or maybe I thought I sent it to the Sheriff's Department too. Anyway, but nobody told me the right place to go either. Which
I can help a little bit on that one. It is school board. It would be in the schools offices. I can't remember.
Because I've learned more about the SRO programs in my research since I first filed the request. But because they're contracted individually with the schools, and their agreements can be different with the schools. And so I was talking with a teacher friend of mine about the SRO programs, and I have some mixed feelings about SRO programs in general. Some places they've had issues with criminalizing children, over criminalizing children. I don't think our schools have had that problem, but so I'm a little skeptical of some of those programs. But it sounds like the teachers here, at least that I've spoken to, like the SRO program and prefer that to having to call officers. So in that case, I would, I'm all about law enforcement accountability, but I support the expansion of the SRO program if that's what our schools want.
Right. I mean, it makes more sense to me. Like I hope, and I don't know the facts on this one, but I would assume that there is a different set of trainings that you do for an individual that works with a bunch of kids, and then an actual sheriff that's running around in the street. I would assume there's a training difference. So it would make more sense to have a department that is focused on a certain thing if that's all they do,
right? And
put the money there instead of having a just street cop that comes in and may have some extra training because of it or whatever. But it's a street. I mean, there's a whole different set of things that a regular sheriff's deputy is trained to deal with that, good God, shouldn't happen in the schools at least.
Right. You want somebody that's specifically trained for that environment. Somebody that the school is familiar with and knows the administrators there. It kind of surprised me to find out that we didn't have SROs in all of our schools. I thought that was system wide by now, but apparently not. So it's very school to school.
Indeed. All right. So police officer accountability is an item for you. That's one. So to shift back into some of the budgetary stuff and some of the other services that are important to you that the county does, at least currently, say they're trying to cover. So let's dig into that a little bit.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about that. So I was talking about KCDC and CAC and some of those other groups. We talked a little bit about kind of county development fund in general. I don't know. Maybe this is only partially related, but I want to talk about the baseball stadium a little bit and the economic impact study and the bond issue down there and stuff like that. So because I just saw another economic impact study from it was like a real estate lobbying group sent me a candidate meet and greet letter. I don't think I'm gonna be able to make it, but kind of interesting. I would have liked to go, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to make it. But they're saying, if the county invests X millions of dollars, if we invest $85 million in this baseball stadium, we're going to get $300 million in economic impact over 15 or 30 years, something like that, right? Well,
I would assume it's in the same term,
right?
Which is 30,
right? That makes sense, right? So $300 million, 30 years, something like that. Where's the comparison to spending that $85 million on anything else? If you spend $85 million on infrastructure and buildings and sidewalks, you're going to have economic activity, right? Whether it's a baseball stadium or a small business incubator and medium density housing development. You know what I mean? So that to me, it's like about the programs and about the money. It's that we have these things already going, and it's about where our priorities are, right? That messaging of we need to attract new talent, that doesn't serve the people that are here paying the taxes right now. So I think we need to serve the people that are here by doing things that help stabilize rents, that create affordable housing, that make it so that people can live near where they work, use our development dollars to encourage those types of developments so that you have less traffic on the road, less stress on our infrastructure, less headaches for everybody, So a few other ways I want to change our priorities, or a few other points I wanted to touch on, was talking about how our codes enforcement works and employee safety and stuff like that. That's all supposed to be a policing function as well. And we've got new employers moving into Knoxville. We got a big Amazon distribution center moving into the east side of town. Amazon has a long history of union busting, anti-worker practices. We've all seen the stories about people not being able to use the bathroom and stuff like that. I think it's important that we focus our codes enforcement and law enforcement on making sure that our employers are following the federal and other guidelines that we're tasked to enforce, that we're supposed to be able to enforce all those things locally on our employers. I think that's another thing that's very important that is not focused on in our county budget right now that we need to beef up. It's like if you call 311 with a complaint, nothing's ever done about it. There's not a lot of folks there to take care of stuff like that. Again, they're all just overworked. So.
Right. Because I mean, I again, going back in time, if I was more active and curious back when it was going on, that whole Amazon thing, I think, is a bad idea. Yeah. I understand. Like I could, again, the pragmatist in me is like, this is a reality. Mm-hmm. This is the future of commerce. This is part of what we're going to do. But the one thing that I don't know, the little boutique down the street has that Amazon doesn't is I can go get it right now. Mm-hmm. And when we have an Amazon warehouse right here, and 90% of the most sold things I'm going to get delivered today it's going to put some real negative impact on local small businesses. And I don't think that was part of the conversation.
Yeah. And I think that ties into the way we develop as well, right? when you develop in a way that lets developers come to the county commission and say, I want an exemption or a variance from our development plan, right? Currently, they're just coming and asking, and if we say if the zoning board says it's okay, they say it's okay. We're not asking for anything back for that, right? We're not saying if you want to develop somewhere else that's off our development plan where it's going to cost us more infrastructure maintenance over time, right? Then there should be some tangible community benefits that come along with that. That should be part of that negotiation. So I would just prefer if we stuck with our development plan, right? We have a pretty solid development plan.
See, I've been trying to grasp that among other budgetary things that are huge and massive and complicated.
It is huge and complicated for sure.
And so is this the new 30-year one or the old one that the new one's replacing? Because there's a new one in flux somewhere in there.
That's right. Well, so I guess what I should say is we are in the process of revamping the existing development plan, and that should be our guide, right? That's the process that has community input. That's the process that has elected input.
Right. And what's the point of building this whole big complicated thing if we're going to just exempt everything as soon as it comes across the table?
If when a developer finds a cheap plot of land they can get, that's too far away, and they want to build a community out there, we shouldn't be giving them a tax break because we're going to have to spend more money to serve it later. I've heard a lot of talk about Hardin Valley. I know you've mentioned it on the show several times and stuff like that. And to me, if a little community wants city infrastructure, maybe it should incorporate. It depends on what services you want.
Because it's like it's the actual libertarian answer would be you bought a house out there with crappy roads, deal with the crappy roads.
Right.
Shop better. Actually, when you go out to look at it, pay attention to the roads that lead up to the neighborhood. The neighborhood might be beautiful and nice and sidewalks and all this stuff, but you have an old country road to get there, and you're the 10th house in a 500 house unit, and you're driving in on this narrow, barely 2-lane road. Maybe think about that for a second before you drop the $300-something on a house out in the boonies.
See, and my problem
expect that the county catches up.
Sorry about that. My problem with that is that we are not only allowing it, we're subsidizing it. That's what blows my mind.
Right. So. Yeah, because again, you're a developer, you bought the land, okay, build the thing.
Yeah, build the thing. You want to build a baseball stadium downtown? Build your baseball stadium.
And if the customers for your thing need a better road to get in there, then you can talk to us about.
Well, now you're paying taxes,
maybe working
right?
together and building a road out there. It makes more sense to me, because again, the other one that I can't remember who said it. One of the county commission candidates was in here, was talking. Actually, I think it was Larson. Anyway, doesn't matter. It was like we can't be proactive on infrastructure. And it was like, well, we can be. It's just when we are, it looks bad. And that's where the politics comes in that's problematic to me. And I get what he's saying, because the idea is that if we went out and build like a 4-lane, nice wide road, easy access, all this stuff out in the middle of way east Emory up in the District 7 or whatever, where there's nothing out there anymore, everybody's going to be like, you spent how many $1 million on what? There's nothing out there.
Right.
But then 10 years from now, when it all develops in, it's like, man, it's glad we had that in there in the first place.
Yeah, that obviously is the struggle, right, of governance, right? How much ahead do you do? But again, that's not even what they're doing right now. They're not developing a good 30-year plan and building roads that we're building around. They're bending to the whims of developers.
Right.
So
I get it. I do. I get it. I get it. It goes back to that idea. It's like, how much growth do we want? Like, do we really want the growth? Because one of the Max on the Big Show, he always argues that Knoxville should be a way bigger city than it is. Realistically, you go look at cities that have a 0 interstate and a 5 interstate that run through them. They're all significantly larger than Knoxville.
That's true. We've got some interesting geography right here. We're pretty hilly. We've got a lot of bluffs that restrict some of our land a little bit.
It's true. And honestly, until 5-6 years ago, if it was just east-west corridor, that's all there really was. We didn't have much in north or south Knoxville, for that matter.
Right.
And it was like the very east side of downtown all the way out to Farragut, and that was Knoxville. And now we're actually starting to go in a little bit more circular pattern instead of just straight west, which we had been doing for years around here.
Yeah. I was looking into that too, looking into the finger annexing that Knoxville did back in. I guess
Mr. Ash
started that. Yeah. That's an interesting. Interesting developing strategy too.
He's an interesting guy in general.
Right. It's like we want to extend our infrastructure as much as possible while taking only a little bit of land. That seems to be what
Right, but what we do take is all the commercial land, which is the high tax revenue land, versus the housing that's tucked in between it. But then we want to fix anything, because I'm in a weird spot. I'm county right here.
Oh yeah, that is odd over here.
I'm literally all of North Shore City.
Yep.
All of Morella City. That right behind me. Condo complex, whatever you want to call it, that's city. So my fence in the backyard is city county. which is real fun when city fire trucks show up when I'm burning stuff in my backyard because I'm in county and I'm allowed
Yeah,
to.
you're allowed to, man. Yeah, law don't apply here.
Right, that one at least. And it's like, and I get it because they call and the 911 operator's like, "Oh, it's a city address," so we call the city in. And I had to argue with a fireman that I lived in the county. He's like, "You sure?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm sure I live in the county, man. I know how much taxes I don't pay."
Right.
But because I mean, one of the things to me that I think's a conversation to have, and everybody always laughs at me when I do it. Again, if with the growth patterns as they go,
you're gonna say Metro, right?
Metro Knoxville is happening whether we want it to or not. Whether it's 2025 or 2045, it's going to happen.
You might be right about that. I don't know that's a reason to rush it. And like I wanted to touch on something you said earlier. You were talking about how like the development's coming, people are coming, right? And I think that's absolutely correct. Like we shouldn't be developing in such a way that we're trying to attract people because people are going to come to Knoxville. We've got low taxes, we've got low prices. It's beautiful here. We have beautiful trails, we have beautiful river, outdoor sports and stuff. People are friendly. We're a real cosmopolitan little corner of Tennessee here. Between Knoxville and Knox County. And we should be developing sustainably, economically for the people that are here, not for the people that we think are going to be here. Now, of course, that includes expanding infrastructure for those folks that are coming. But, maybe it also includes densifying areas where we can or, taking some actions to protect the people that are here.
Right. I mean, I agree with that, too. I think there's the crisis of density that people don't want it, but it's going to happen. And either we get proactive about it and pay attention and be smart about it.
That's right.
Or all of a sudden we have to redo stuff, and all of a sudden what used to be a little bit more spread out is going to get squeezed real tight.
Right.
And and then the infrastructure has to catch up, and then we're everybo's miserable.
Yeah, you talk about like tax revenue and cost per square foot of infrastructure, like medium density development on corridors is incredibly cost effective. Whereas, so you've got like multiple shops in a small strip, maybe it has some residential in it. That's very tax effective, way more than the parking lot around a Taco Bell.
Right.
But,
another one that I'd like to see, and like this is probably top 5 of my anti-libertarian things. I want every new shopping center built in Knox County to look like the one down on campus. The Publix that has the empty Walmart now.
Yeah.
That parking underneath thing, you have all the square footage of some good shopping.
Yeah, I do like that.
And you don't have an acre of parking lot to go with it.
Mm-hmm.
And you take that, again, talking about quarter, like how much of Kingston Pike is parking lots?
So much.
And it's like
one good parking structure would take care of so much of that.
Right. And we could have mixed use buildings and all this kind of stuff squeezed in, and we can have so much more in there and have so much more residents and so much more other stuff around it because we're not all parking lot everywhere.
We're just stuck in this backwards mode of development from like the 90s. We're sprawling all over the place. We found out that's not sustainable. That type of development was financed by massive debts, which Knoxville and Knox County have been lucky to avoid a lot of that. We don't need to make the mistake now that Nashville was making 10, 15 years ago and that they're about to make again. I just heard they're looking at a new football stadium. So
yeah, I heard about that too.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize, I didn't even think it that the time scale is so phenomenal to me. It's like we just it's brand new. It's not. It's like, I mean, I didn't realize how long the Titans had been there. Like I could totally blank my mind. It's been 30 something years since they moved in over there.
Right.
So, but I get, I think it's, I think the clarification of services that we do as a county, I think is a top priority for me, and trying to get people to understand what we're actually responsible for, who's actually responsible for it, because again, I think one of the big issues that we have in Knox County is that we have 2 incorporated entities in the city of Knoxville proper as well as Farragut, and then we have Knox County at large, and then we have so much state stuff, and then we have interstate to throw that on. So all the infrastructure complications that we have here are maddening. And to try to manage, because I have one of my businesses is over here on North Shore by Kingston Pike, and it floods constantly. My building doesn't, but that stretch of North Shore floods all the time. And I just live up the street from, whatever the lake is they call it over there, that floods every year. And it's doing it again right now because it does every year. And it's like, well, it's a state road. The city owns all the land on either side of it because of the finger annexes we were talking about earlier, but all the residents are county. And so who do I go to?
Right.
What do I go to get this
Yeah.
fixed? Like, this is a thing, and
So that's an example of unsustainable development, though. That's the problem with finger annexing, is it created all those little areas. Like, it makes sense if you're thinking of running the city as a business, right? If you're like, oh, we got to maximize the profit. But if you're talking about running as a city, a place where
See,
a
again,
community
that's
of
where
people
I got to
decide
push back
live.
because I get mad at that one, because we can run it. Maximizing profit is not doesn't necessarily mean neglectful.
Yes.
Because again, as a business, you want to live forever. That's the goal of any real business that actually considers themselves real, is they want to live forever, whether it's me or whatever. And so poor decisions that maximize profit today that kill profits in the future are still poor decisions.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just because I can be like, oh, look how much more revenue we have, doesn't, that's where the politics comes into me.
That's the short-sighted. That's the short-sightedness we have right now. There, that's what I'm saying. It's like we're, those economic impact studies. You just look at those numbers, like, oh, the numbers are so big, but it's like, man, there's so much more to that, and there's so much risk and all these things, But talking about, I get a little bit back on that other topic. So
it's fine, hit me.
Yeah,
I wander aimlessly. I can't help myself. We have beverages here that we haven't gotten into.
I know,
yet,
right? We've
so.
been sitting here talking so much. Should we crack it open?
Sure, man. Let's do it.
It's
It's nothing like some tea drinking.
all right. Well, our ice is like half melted over here.
That's
now.
good. I need more water. I can't drink straight. So, but I mean, again, like yeah, help yourself.
Yeah.
What were we talking about? What were you going back to? You're trying to go back.
I
to
was just thinking about the development dollars we're already spending, and thinking about sustainable development versus short-sighted development, right? Whether you're trying to get this developer to turn and burn one more property, or whether you're trying to create a community with benefits for the folks and sticking with your development plan,
Okay, so I do want to explore the idea of using the different development dollars as leverage to get either affordable housing as part of it, or a more community centered, right, that kind of stuff. And so, I get the premise of using it as leverage. Cheers, sir.
Cheers.
Thank you kindly. I need to get, anyway. Oh, me and tequila usually don't get along. Ooh, that's peppery. There's a pepperiness to that.
It's Herradura Reposado, man. It's very good. That's why I brought it. This is the tequila I bring for non-tequila drinkers.
Shout out to Tall Paul, I think, because Tall Paul was a big Herradura drinker when I used to work the bars when he was there.
Yeah.
So
good stuff.
Random pitch back in my head.
Yeah.
But okay, so like, the density conversation, the relationship with the city and the county conversation, because that's another part of it too. Is that at least during the city races, I was talking to a bunch of different people, and one of the things is that the city planning is trying to push less density right now, where the county planning is trying to push more, which seems backwards to me. One, infrastructure-wise, we have more infrastructure in the city that already exists. Should be easier. So how do we get because to me, I almost feel like Knoxville's on the edge of that, where we actually have like a proper downtown,
right?
Where we have proper downtown where people live. Because when I first moved here, there's nobody down there, and so, but how much I can't think of anything new built more than like 3 stories in the downtown area in a while. Like, when are we going to get the?
Well, there's been a lot of that student housing that's been constructed on Cumberland Ave. You see a lot of that. What do they call it? Like 5/1 construction.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of that going on down
true,
there,
yeah.
which is medium density, and I think that stuff's okay. And includes the parking garages underneath, like you said. It's not perfect development. It's not always aesthetically pleasing, but
it does make the strip really boring looking. But
it does. I do miss that. So.
But even around that, like, you get right up there on the very beginning of Western, and there's that huge housing development that's not that old in there. They're dense. They're small lots, but they're single family homes.
Right.
And it's like that same amount of space, a couple stories tall, in a complex would be 4 times as many people.
Yeah, absolutely. And the city and the county both still own a lot of land from the 2008 foreclosure crisis. I know they've given a lot of it away. But a lot of land came back into city hands. City's given it to developers to build apartments, and counties done kind of similar things. But we haven't, and like the Lakehore's over there, huge and unused, and it's a pretty park, but like there used to be buildings there, and there could be again, right? That could be beautiful medium density public housing, over in that area, and maybe it'll revitalize the mall here, although traffic and all that stuff.
Right.
Right.
And malls are dead in general, and
well,
Amazon's going to finish doing that here.
They were always a tax scam. They
Right.
never worked without accelerated depreciation. So, but that's a whole other conversation.
Right. To me, I'd love to see city county move into the mall personally. Like, I want to get, that's talk about a really cool building that could have a really much better purpose than court and
Man,
meetings.
yeah.
I think that's one to me. Like I want a new Civic. That's on my agenda, but that's a city thing. But especially I want government out of downtown. I don't understand the need to. I mean, because I don't know.
Yeah, county government headquarters in downtown in the city. Maybe it's not quite
even the city,
necessary.
for that matter. Get it out of that downtown, like that proper downtown.
It's
That's
a
such
valuable,
a cool spot.
useful land. Yeah, that's a
that
good
we could
point.
be doing more cooler stuff with. That would be, housing and entertainment or whatever it is that we can squeeze down there. Now that we have a downtown again.
That's right. Land use is something you talk about a lot on the show too, and like you said, that's what the county and the city is supposed to do, and that's what we're talking about here, right? We're deciding where folks are going to develop, where's the county going to build infrastructure, where how do we keep those things in harmony? That's the
for sure. All right. What did I miss? I'm missing something.
Let's see. We talked about budgets.
So about land use. We talked about why mayor's office. We talked about tequila. We talked about.
We can. You want to talk about full-time county commissioners?
Sure, that's an interesting topic. I mean, I don't know. Like again, as I try to get a grasp around what the job duties are, I don't know that it should take that much time. But the one that I'm more interested on is the one thing to me about making it full time that I find interesting is, does it open the field to people that can't afford?
That's my number one reason to push for it.
To try to get into that office.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, that's an expenditure. I don't know. I'm undecided on it, I guess is the best way to put it. But I'm interested in the conversation.
Well, I think that's fair. I don't know that I have a fully developed opinion on it either. I'm not sure it's the solution for the county. Maybe for the city, but it depends. It depends on both. But I do think the accessibility to run for office is a huge deal, right? If you are a regular working person and you make $30,000 a year, you can't possibly afford to run for office, right? Just the sorry, we got a barker in the background.
Yeah, I'm just
there.
checking in.
Okay. The expense of just maintaining your life while trying to be a politician is really difficult. And we have a few people that do a good job of doing the balance or whatever, but I think that legislators that can spend all of their time paying attention to their legislative work, that seems valuable to me, right? Like you said, it's a budgetary issue. Maybe it's not necessary in the county, but actually, I don't like how strong the mayor's office is in either the county or the city. I mean, obviously, I'm running for county mayor, but if a county mayoral candidate is going to decrease the power of the mayor's office, it'll probably be me. I don't think anybody else will do that, but.
Which again, this goes to a broader conversation that I don't understand what the party means anymore. I don't understand what either party means anymore. I don't get it. Like they're not. It's just not the other. That's all I hear out of it. Like and which is it's not a knock on you at all. It's just I'm trying to one of the things when we do the 5 questions here in a little bit. One of the things I do is does partisanship help me as a voter? And the theory is, and a lot of people say the idea, it's like, well, it helps you get an idea of the ideals and the general values of an individual. And it's like, yeah, maybe.
With 2 parties? No way.
There's no way. But even, you're right, because that's assuming that everything is an A or B.
Yeah, nothing's that binary.
But even on top of that, you just don't have a, there's not a consistency within the parties to say that it actually says anything anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I've made the reference a bunch on here, and I think this directly affects you on it, is that right now, generally speaking, the United States is not happy with Joe Biden. Polling data shows it. It's some of the lowest polling numbers that any president has had ever. Mm-hmm. Lower than Trump. I mean, and that's
saying something, yeah.
Right. And the fact that he has a D with his name is going to affect how the D after your name looks.
Yeah, it certainly will.
And it's like, that's unfair to you because you think and I understand why, but you need to run with the party to be part of this.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
You don't get a real chance if you're not with a party.
That's right. So I considered running as an independent, right? And I told you I reached out to Matt Shears, back in December before the election started. And but yeah, I ran as a Democrat because if you don't run as one of the 2 major parties, you're not a serious candidate. That's how, at least that to me seems like the perception.
Right. I had one of the school board people who has independents in their race kind of infer that independents are hiding something. And it's like, well, no, we just don't have a team.
Right.
It's not our fault we don't have a team. It's the state's fault we don't have a team because the state makes it too damn hard to have your own team.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, partisanship and political parties, I think we need election reform nationwide, really. So Maine tried the alternative. I forget
Ranked choice.
Yeah, ranked choice. It was one of those ranked choice variants in the last presidential election or whatever, and it seemed like they had some good results with that. I think just the first.
Well, I mean, the idea that anybody can win with less than the majority of the electorate seems kind of weird.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, 30% of the people liked him.
Right.
Well, but there's another 70% of people. Yeah, but 30% of the people voted for him, and the next person got 20, and the next person got 18, and the next person got whatever, and it's like, oh, okay, that's how they went.
Yeah, well, so in the ranked choice, it's supposed to be like, it's like your second choice. Your vote goes to your second choice, right? That's kind of the idea.
Right. Usually, there's different versions of it, but the version I always kind of understood best is that whoever's in last gets knocked off, and if that was your first, then your second
vote
becomes
gets redistributed.
to your first.
That seems like a much more reasonable way to do it, or at least nothing's going to be perfect, right? And that's it's you're selecting one person to represent hundreds of thousands of people.
Right.
There's no perfect way to do that, right? But yeah, it seems like any system that gives us a little more flexibility in denoting our preferences, right? Other than just blue team or red team, like we need to be able to indicate a little more than that.
Right.
And political parties don't allow for that. Now, obviously, candidates are individuals. You vote for a candidate in an election,
But you don't.
But
I mean, you really don't.
Right.
Not
exactly.
you, maybe not you or me, but in
Sure.
general, the voters, because I'll make fun of voters all day, they don't. I mean, like, because I've had school board people in here talking about they go door knocking, and they have people ask them their Second Amendment opinion. It's like, it doesn't matter. I'm running for school board. I don't want kids shooting each other at school if that helps you understand me better. But, it's like and again, it goes to why I think this job description page I'm trying to build is important so that people can actually identify things that the person can and can't do in the office and apply that to the person and not the party. And I mean, even apply it to the party. What is the party's stance on this topic? And it's like most of them they don't have stances on. There's only like 3 things that they have real major stances on, and it's like, well, none of those the mayor can do.
Right.
So what's the point?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or 2 of them. I mean, the big ones, the finances is one I guess both parties have stances on a little bit, but
Sure.
For it's like gun control. It's like mayor's office has nothing to do with
No,
it.
it has nothing to do with it.
And it's like, okay, cool. Mayor Jacobs likes his guns. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Right. It's not really relevant.
It's not part of his job.
Part of his job.
Right.
Yeah,
and so we need to keep it in that context.
Sure.
But we don't. We make that part of the political thing that we are doing here now, and it's like, let's pick him apart for the problems he has, for the job he can do. I don't care that he was a wrestler. Everybody thinks that's a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, people make jokes, and there was
I made the jokes too. I stopped
there
myself.
was that good Twitter, the good response on Twitter from the other wrestler that had the montage of him getting hit with chairs. It was funny, but whatever. It's like he was a professional actor and athlete and was successful at that for a very long time. Parlayed that into a business career and then ran for office. I mean, obviously he's not.
I mean, you had to do something.
Yeah.
The scariest one is the one that's had no job but politics for their entire career. Those are the scary ones.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm obviously I'm not a politician. I'm an engineer.
You're a politician.
I am now, right? the reason I got into it, the reason I was made the transition to become a politician was because of the issues that I saw that I want to work on. I know you're going to ask me about my high school politically, so I was just trying to save it. But
Your what?
Yeah. One of your 5 questions is what's your highest political goal?
Oh,
so.
Well, you can do it now. Whatever.
Yeah, so I was going to say, I have no interest in serving anywhere other than Knox County. Now, if I serve Knox County as, county mayor for 8 years, and then, maybe I'll be a commissioner or something else. But yeah, local office is appealing to me because Knox County is what I care about. And I think that the issues that are most important to me are the issues that the local government does have the power to do something about.
Well, because then I guess the follow on that to me is that how do we get more control here locally and get the state and the federal government out of our business?
Yeah,
that's the libertarian in action.
That's the libertarian question, right? And so I guess to speak to the other two, my qualifications are in compliance, with meeting regulations so that I get the grant money or the incentive funds for the jobs that I'm working on. So I'm exactly the opposite. I know how to go by the rule book and all that stuff.
I mean, but that's a start. At least we know what we're doing. I mean, at least we because again, I think it matters. It matters a lot, and it really frustrates me that I don't know better to be better at holding accountable, but it really frustrates me that the people that do aren't holding to account that this is not that job. This is not in that job. It doesn't matter to that job. Like we all like to make fun of what's Elizabeth Murphy down there, District 1 candidate for city. It's like, you know what? She doesn't have the right to. She's not going to pass an ordinance that pee drinking is part of being a citizen in the city. It's weird. Okay, it does show a little bit about who the person is.
Sure.
I agree.
Right.
But at the end of the day, that's not part of the job. So
absolutely.
everybody knows it's a thing. Let's move on to issues that can actually be part of the job and talk about those instead of talking about this one weird thing that this person does.
No, my issue with Jacobs is not that he's a great athlete. My issue with Jacobs is that he pushed the baseball stadium and he's been a supporter of unsustainable development. And I think some of his leadership on coronavirus has been a bit questionable. Obviously, he can't do a whole lot, but when you're in that kind of position, and you're the leader of the
the bully pulpit has a reality.
Exactly.
And that's one of the things that I have to relax on, because that's one of the things that I freak out about, because it's like, it's not your job. Shut up, it's not your job.
I do hold him to that. I do hold him to the bully pulpit aspect, but he's not in charge of what policy or, the lawsuit and all this stuff. It's not directly controlled by him.
Right. And I think but I don't know. I think if we understood our politics better as a constituency, that we wouldn't succumb to the bully pulpit as much. The bully pulpit would be on more practical social things, not policy things.
Yeah.
Not functional day-to-day things. It would be, hey, let's be better to our neighbors kind of things.
Well, that'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Right. Not, I'm going to do everything I can against this. You can't do anything. Shut up. And you should be told to shut up, and you shouldn't freak out when you get told to shut up. It drives me crazy.
Well, let's see how the debates go then.
I've joked about trying to host a couple, but I'm not smart enough to handle it. I can't hold attention long enough to keep on a topic. Okay, so we got there. 5 questions time. You already alluded to it.
Yeah.
Where's my cheat sheet? Because I'm in a glass of tequila now, so I can't remember.
I've got my cheat sheet too. So.
All right, whatever. So
you want me to read
5 questions. No, question number 1 is one you just answered. Question number 1 is this your first run?
Yeah, it's my first time running.
All right, for any office ever.
That's right.
No student council, nothing?
Actually, no. I was in college. I was like an adjunct member of the engineering student council, and I helped manage the construction of our homecoming float. But I never actually was elected or joined it. So no, I don't.
Okay, so it's not elected. That's all that matters. All right, and then it's the future one, which you already answered, but do it again now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would love to be mayor of Knox County for as long as they'll allow me, and then I'd love to stay in Knox County, continuing to make it a better place.
All right. So then 2 is, what's your favorite ice cream?
That is Ben and Jerry's Half Baked and Americone Dream. Toss up between those 2.
Fair enough. I had Ben and Jerry's as like top of my list for a long time. Their cookie dough was kick ass.
Yeah, the half baked is the cookie dough plus.
I don't have the mayor's salary, so I can't afford it all the time.
Well, it will be a raise for me. I don't have the mayor's salary yet either. So.
These are the jokes, people. What's your favorite place to eat?
Oh gosh, let's see. In Knoxville, there are probably too many to list, so I'm going to list them all, or at least a few of them. I apologize for missing some, but the Ramen Bones food truck is one of my favorites.
Okay.
Kaizen, Not Watson's, Knox Mason. Those are all local. They're all great. Knoxville, Knox County has excellent chefs. For barbecue, because this is important.
It's its own category.
It's important. So Archer's for ribs.
Oh, we're going to break it down by barbecue. Check. Okay.
Sweet Pea for brisket and chicken, and M&M's barbecue for pulled pork sandwiches.
Okay, noted. All right, so that's favorite food. 4 is, and we did just talk about this one too. It's like, is partisanship a value for me as the voter?
Currently, as it stands, no, I don't think so. I don't think Democrat and Republican are super useful labels. I think parties often act as gatekeepers in a way, and I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. I would love to see more people running for office with an election process that gives us more choice, to narrow down the field.
You got the right answers. I like it. And then 5 is, since you are running as a Democrat, tell me about a Republican that you really like.
Absolutely, and I prepared for this one. So Senator Richard Biggs out of Knoxville has been a leader in supporting science and medicine during the pandemic. He has a background as a medical doctor. He's consistently opposed some of Bill Lee's worser tendencies. So I think he's done a great job standing up for what he believes in.
All right, so that's the 5 questions is complete, and now it's your turn to pitch your plugs.
Okay. Well, you can find me at www.tyler4knox.com. You can get me on socials at Tyler4Knox. That's Facebook, that's Instagram, probably most active on Instagram. Also on Twitter. At the website, you can donate. You can cash at me $5. $ Tyler4Knox. As long as you donate less than $100, I don't have to report it.
Well, yeah, that's another project I have, is to get in there on the financial disclosures, because that's a bunch of fun, crazy paperwork.
Yep, it is.
There's a lot going on there.
Oh, they're very interesting.
Yeah, so that's everything. Website? Did you say website?
Tyler4Knox.com.
It's all the same thing. All right, it's easy. It's easy to remember
all
everything.
Tyler4Knox.
All right, man. Well, that's the official show. Is there anything else you want to do? I got time.
I mean, like I said, I took the afternoon off work. We can drink a little more of this tequila.
I gotta get the family back out. We got some stuff with the family going on that I gotta
All
attend
right.
to
Well,
as
hey,
well,
I really appreciate it, man. It's been a great conversation.
I had a good time too. All right, Tyler Gibbons, everybody. He is running for mayor of Knox County. We're going to talk to some other mayor candidates. We got Debbie next week, I think. Then I'm going to try to make a run at Mayor Jacobs as well. But we're almost in agreement. Almostinagreement@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. You can go to our website, almostinagreement.com. While you're there, please give us I'm into tequila. I'm sorry. Website's got my voter guide 22, which is going to get you links to the episode that I've done with people, links to the their website or Facebook page or whatever, as well as links to KGIS and Knox County Election Commission. There's a few precinct changes going on, so get onto Knox County Election Commission and make sure you know where your voting location is, what district you're in, all that kind of crap. And make sure you're registered. That's kind of an important part of this game too. Go to your favorite podcast provider, follow us, and subscribe to us there too as well, and give a 5-star review. Tell your friends about us. We're going to keep doing this. We've got as many candidates as we can squeeze in. Just a general program note, I'm going on vacation for spring break, so Knox County spring break, I'm out of town. So that's going to be like the slowest week ever since I'm doing like 6 a week right now. I'll be 0 for one whole week. So we're almost agreeing, everybody. Thanks for listening. Have a good day.